This session, I'm going to call it Escaping the Trap. And we all know what that trap is. It's the trap of being offended. Remember, Jesus said in Luke 17, verse 1, it is impossible that offenses will not come. If you drink water, breathe air, you will have the opportunity to be offended. Just remember, what you do with the offense determines your future. Either you become stronger or you become bitter. There's no in between. Anybody, just remember this, whenever you encounter offense, you will come out of it changed. All right? And you want to come out of it as a stronger believer, not somebody who is embittered. Some of you may be sitting there, you're watching this right now, you're with your group, or you're just watching it by yourself, and you're just going, you've listened to these 4 sessions, and you're just saying, but John, you just don't know what they did to me. Now, how many of you have ever heard somebody say that? You just don't know what they did to me. How many of you have ever said that? Don't raise your hands, okay? All right. Now, what I say to somebody that says that is, no, you don't know what you did to Jesus. An offended Christian is a Christian that has forgotten what they have been forgiven of. A person who cannot forgive is a person who has forgotten or never realized what they've been forgiven of. If we go to Matthew 18, the entire chapter is on offenses. But there is this one particular point in Matthew 18 that, Jesus is talking to his 12. And how many of you know the apostles are always like jockeying for who's going to be the greatest, right? I mean, Peter's already 2 notches up on all of them because he walked on the water and he got to go to the mountain of transfiguration. He is the one that said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. So on some of them, he's actually 3 notches up. So Peter just thinks as big as he can. I mean, he just thinks he's being magnanimous in what he's about to say, right? Because Jesus has been talking all about this forgiveness stuff all through his ministry. You have to remember that, okay? Right from the very beginning, right from the Sermon on the Mount, he talks about it. So Peter says, okay, and you got to remember, these disciples, they're raised under the law, and the law says eye for eye, tooth for tooth. You kill my dog, I get to kill your dog. You punch me in the mouth, I get to punch you in the mouth, right? So Peter just goes as big as he can grasp, right? And he says, Jesus, if my brother does me wrong 7 times and I forgive him, that's enough, right? Now, Peter is expecting Jesus to look at him and go, Peter, blessed are you, right? Flesh and blood did reveal this to you, right? He's just waiting for this, right? But Jesus looks back at Peter and goes, Peter, not 7 times, 70 times 7. And in Luke's gospel, he says in one day. Now, for you to sin against me 70 times 7, that's 490 times. For you to sin against me 490 times in one day means you'd have to sin against me once every 3 minutes, provided you and I don't go to sleep. Now, I don't know anybody that can sin that good. So what Jesus is saying is this. Peter, your forgiveness is to be just like your heavenly Father's, inexhaustible. And then he says, I got to tell these guys a story to make the point, because Jesus is always telling these great stories. So he says, all right, there's this great kingdom, and there's this big king, right? And he has all these servants who owed him, all right? And there was one who was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. Now, you say, what in the world is a talent? A talent is not a measure of money. It's actually a measure of weight. A talent is how much a man could carry. So most Bible experts believe that a talent was 75 pounds, all right? So this servant owes his king 750,000 pounds. Pounds of what? Well, it's a debt, so we can safely assume it's either gold or silver, because that was the medium of exchange, right? Let's assume gold. Gold is roughly $1,200 an ounce, right? 750,000 pounds of gold. Do you know what that adds up to? $14.5 billion this servant owes his king. Now, how many of you would call that an unpayable debt? Can I see your hands? If not, I want to talk to you about reaching the nations, all right? So what Jesus is immediately doing is likening this king to God the Father, because we were forgiven of the unpayable debt. Right? When Jesus hung on Calvary, the Bible says in Colossians chapter 3 that he took the handwriting of ordinance that was against us, some translations say the note of debt, and he nailed it to the cross. He literally paid the unpayable debt for us.